not to fill myself up with stuff. And so fulfillment will come when that hunger in you is addressed at its core, which is what you are longing for. What is this? What do you care for the most? What is your deeply held desires? And if you are able to address them, then you will see that the urge for the kind of monolithic successes will cease. And then you will begin this quest, which will be unique and different, right?
Your conversations always fulfill me. So wonderful. And thank you for that. What I also wanted to ask you is, sometimes we measure success and failure through comparison also, that the other person has it and I don't have it. And, it could be material, it could be non-material, it could be, something that's not measurable. It could be love also, whatever. So how does one get out of that? Because, most of the time, and we are seeing a lot of millennials now, and most people now are looking at, okay, what do I have? What does the other person have? In terms of money, salaries they're earning. So they're all comparing all the time. And that really leads to a lot of unhappiness. And also then they start thinking and believing that they're failing because somebody else is doing better than them. So what is your thought around that? And how does one overcome something like that?
Well, please don't blame comparisons. That's a human privilege, like desiring is. We are born to compare. You see, two owners of two dogs. One of them is a Labrador, the other is a,
German Shepherd.
Country dog. We call it Desi Kutta. Now, the two dogs are very comfortable eating from the same pile of garbage, but the owners are not. The owner of the Labrador thinks it is below the dignity of his dog to eat with the same place as the other dog. And so the owners are comparing, dogs are not comparing. And the ability to compare is a unique human privilege. Don't mistake that. But the problem is we are comparing wrong things. Now, if I compare the car you bought, and then you say the car was a gift given to me by my father, then you must say that, well, not what a car, but what a great father. I wish I could be a father like that. And so you compare efforts, you don't compare the results. So you say he worked so hard, got 99% marks in English language in ICSE exams, and I admire his effort. I must compare my effort with his, and then I would say that I should have worked harder. That comparison is good because you're comparing processes, right? And so once you compare results, you compare the wrong things. You're mismeasuring. So the gift of comparison is unique human privilege. Don't run down comparison. But if you're comparing the wrong things, obviously you get to the wrong end of the equation. So if I ever give feedback in terms of my students, I never give feedback in terms of how brilliant you are and how dull you are. I don't say those things. I said, how effortful was your venture? How you burn midnight oil, how you sacrifice going to movies, social life, just to focus on the venture. And you did not do that. And so please look at the effort he's put in. That comparison will help the other one. But if you just say, you're brilliant, you're dull, you see, that's fait accompli. So, that's my genetic code. Ye mera bhagya mein likha tha, and stuff like that. You get all kinds of expressions that are absolutely meaningless. So the fundamentals have to be understood. Don't denounce the comparative ability. That's human capability. They're not given to a buffalo. Okay. Therefore, we progress through comparisons, but we must progress through right comparisons, not wrong measures. That's the whole problem. See, generally saying don't compare. You should not compare. I mean, many schools do that. We don't compare marks and all of that. I said that's foolish. You see, if you don't compare, how will I know what is a good performance? But having understood what a good performance is, I must go beneath the performance, visible surface of performance to the invisible result, efforts was put to get this performance. And if I deconstruct the effort, then I will also get the kind of performance this person has got if I put in those kind of efforts, right? And so by definition, comparison is natural to us, inbuilt in us. Envy is a great propeller. Envy is very important. But what are you envying? Are you envying the wrong things or envying the right things?
Wonderful.
See, in the mammalian, I'll just close this very quickly. In the mammalian world, envy is given to you to protect your reproductive rights. Without that envy, will be massacred, right? Society will go for a toss. So envy is, to the mammalian world is given to our brain. It's a defense mechanism. But if you transport that envy from its legitimate space to a space that is illegitimate, then envy starts malfunctioning. That's where the problem is. Go ahead.
Wonderful. So the other thing, I mean, you talked about comparison of efforts and all. Now, there's another aspect of failure is when you work really, really hard, you put in those hours and, months, days, weeks, years, and you don't achieve success. And this happens quite often, right? Because that's the whole model of success and failure. Success is going to be just maybe 1% of the time. Now, in those cases, what happens is, you start to lose hope and you start to think about, okay, what I did wrong. And you get into that whole trap of thinking too much. And I've gotten to it as well. And you get into mental depression and all of that. And remorse, guilt, I mean, all those kind of things start to, fear of missing out, all of those things. So how does one deal with that part of it where you put in years and years of effort, you did all the right things, but it just didn't work?
Yeah. So in which case, you have to understand why is this event? What you call failure is an event. Are you able to see that event? And that event is a creation of a context. The event is happening in a context. Now, people who lose the context and make the event the sum and substance of their lives are not able to see. So somebody has gotten rich very quickly because the context is father was already rich. And it took him just 2 years. It might take you 22 years to get to that kind of wealth. And so if I start comparing that event, itna billionaire ban gaya, main nahi ban paya. If I feel frustrated and get into mental depression, I have lost my context. And so the context sensitivity, giving students, giving yourself context sensitivity is very, very important. And you are a product of your context. Please understand this. You are the sum total of the relationships that you've had for intimate and close relationships you had for some time. Now, if you have to come out of that context and go to another context, you have to give yourself time for the context to shape up. So I want to be a billionaire. I want to wear the same kind of clothes he's wearing, go jet setting the way he is doing. So for entering the billionaires club, you will have to create the context for a billionaire. Then your dressing will be different, the kind of people you meet will be different. But if you misplace the context and only focus on a particular result. So that's why I think we should teach people how to figure out what their context is. And it is very, very important in life. Most of us I have not given to understand that there's a design behind performance. And that design is your environment. Now, if you change your design, so there's nothing called success. There's something called a success system. There's an element of systemic. So if there's a systemic flaw, then every time you're on the threshold of success, you will come. Systemic flaw means every time you make money, your father comes and says, it is not good to make money. Brahmins don't make money. That's the role of Baniyas. Why are you getting into this kind of trip? And then all of a sudden, there's a guilt about making money. Now you can see that your context is already vitiated. So you have to say to your father with folded hands that, sometimes I am a Baniya, but sometimes I'm a Brahmin. When I'm in class, I'm a Brahmin, but I tend to be a Baniya. What else can I do? This is my passion. And so you have to refigure your context. Like most of us don't do that. We think we'll build a castle based on sand. Sand is very fragile. So if you have to build castles, you have to have rock foundation, right? Those foundations are important.